your girl, Michelle D.I., Mrs. Divine Intervention herself. To all my helper bees out there, you know who you are. Those that are always helping everyone else and neglecting yourself. Yes, boo, look in the mirror. I'm talking to you. Here to let you know God has not forgotten about you. I've been sent on divine assignment. It's time for reflections, choosing me guilt free. That means 30 minutes for your mind, your body, spirit, and emotions. And don't act like you don't have time. You have time for everyone and everything else. Sit back and relax because if you're here, that means this show is for you or it's for someone you know. But most likely, it's for both of y'all. Deep breaths, love. Let's go. Hey, family. Hey, family. Hey, family. It's your girl, Mrs. Michelle Allen Franklin. Yes, this is Michelle D.I. Why? You know, for divine intervention, honey, because there are no coincidences in this world. Only God's divine intervention in our lives. And I'm known as a community builder, honey. Why? Because you know your girl's gonna give you the good information, boo, the things for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your emotions. And family, it is Monday, June the 2nd. Can y'all believe it? It's June 2025 already. Where's January and February, March? Where did the months go? I don't even know. Where did the months go? Where did the month go? Well, I am happy that it's June. June is one of my favorite months. If you have been following your girl, you know I've been on the radio since January, but I have been doing my Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free podcast and going live for the past 7 years. And so June and October for me are very near and dear to my heart because I celebrate men in those months. It's Men's Month for Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free Family. And what I try to do each Men's Month is I try to give topics and subjects that, you know, are for men, very intentionally for men. Two things inspired this. Y'all know your girl is a nurse. I've been a nurse for 25 years. But the two things that inspired this is one, I had a man that came into the office one afternoon, and I was on the phone. I was a phone nurse. I'm still a phone nurse, but just for a different company. But I was a phone nurse at that time, and I was begging this man. Y'all, I was on the phone with this man for a good 20, 30 minutes, begging this man to go to the emergency room because he had been having chest pain for 3 or 4 days. And he had all the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. And he did not want to go to the emergency room. He was at work having chest pain, had been going to work having chest pain again a couple of days. I begged him to come into the office. I mean, he wouldn't go to the emergency room. So I said, sir, will you just please come into the office? Because I knew that the doctor would convince him to go to the emergency room. I was just kind of tricking him, right? He gets to the emergency room. When he got there, I walked in, the man's head was full of sweat. He was diaphoretic, just, I mean, full of sweat, heart, uh, shortness of breath, breathing so fast. I immediately told him to call 911, trying to get him to calm down and everything. When I tell you that that man passed away, and if y'all know anything about the Tyler area, we were at Christus, right, the Douglas Clinic that's right across the street from the hospital, from the emergency room. I mean, across the street, y'all. And before they can get this man across the street, he died. And that thing sat with me so. I was like, man, it's got to be something better that we have to do for our men. You guys wait too long, right, to get the help that you need. And it does not have to be that way. The other thing that really affected me was a few years later, a man was in the office, and I tell this story frequently, just because of the mental health background. But he came in the office and he was struggling, and we were doing this depression screening, and he, um, we were doing a depression screening, and when I got to the question and ask, do you feel like a failure? Do you feel as if you've let your family down? That man was seemingly answering all the questions, no, no, whatever, yeah, but very fast. This question, he stopped, he paused, and then he just started crying. And not only did he cried and he cried and he cried for 15 minutes straight. And I mean, to the point where I just had to stop. Even the doctor was about to come in, and I told her, hey, wait, hang on a second. I got to give him some more time, because you guys hold so much in, right? You feel the weight of the world on you. And I feel like, it is this thing with women, and it's all this women empowerment information out there, and it's all these things for the girls and all of the things, right? And all that is necessary. But I do feel like you guys get left behind, and there's not enough information. And when I'm looking at this thing and I'm studying it, it really is because there isn't enough of you that are willing to come forth. Y'all are the ones that I'm fine. I'm okay. You want to hold it in. You want to act like everything is okay when it's not. And understanding and getting to the point where that releasing, sharing that information, finding someone that you can share the things that you're struggling with is so important. And it is not worth you losing your life because you're so stressed that you have a heart attack, that you're so stressed that the only time that you can release is away from your family and coming into an office, and so much weight is on you that you cry heavily for 15 minutes. I call that suffering in silence, right? And again, this is just my part, right? I feel like God has us people that we're assigned to. So today, again, is Men's Month. The whole month of June, we're going to be focusing on men. Today, I have an amazing man in here with me today, Mr. Isaac Belota. He is just a plethora of information. But I have him here on the show with me today. Isaac, you are my first guest since I've been doing the radio. And so welcome to
So I'm the
Reflections.
first guest on the
You are
radio?
the first guest on
Okay.
the
Well, you
radio.
were probably like 45th guest on my podcast.
I'll take it. I'll take it. 45. The 45th president was President Obama. So I'll
Okay,
take
there we go.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
I will take it. Isaac, welcome to Reflections. Choosing me guilt free. This is the men's edition all month
Well,
long. Welcome,
thank you for
sweetie.
having me on. As she said, I am in fact a man.
Yes, you are.
I have a podcast. If people want to go check it out, called
Yes.
Unordinary People.
Yes.
I interview people mostly from the Tyler area. Sometimes I'll
Yes.
reach outside of that and find people who are doing interesting or things here or have incredible stories,
Yes.
and I let them tell their stories. I'm also currently working on a documentary
Mm-hmm.
called Zachheim. It's about a artist who came through during the Depression era
Mm-hmm.
for the public works projects. It's about me discovering his work and his life. So it's almost a meta documentary, I guess.
I
But
love it. I love it. That is one of the things that drew me. Me and Isaac met last year at a networking event, and quickly, started talking and quickly became friends. Again, he is just a plethora of information. I've been on his platform, as he said, Unordinary People.
you've been on twice,
I've been on
so go
twice.
check it out.
Isaac, where is that available? It's on the YouTube
It's
channel.
on YouTube. It's on
Mm-hmm.
Spotify. It's on any of the third party podcast platforms. I think it's on Apple Music, but I don't have any Apple products, so I really don't know.
It's all good. It's wherever you can get your podcast available. But Unordinary People is the name of the podcast. But today we are talking. When I had Isaac on my platform, and he is under the men's edition of previous podcasts that I've had in the past, he is under Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free under the men's edition. Isaac and I got into his spiritual walk. And even Isaac talking about being a young man and being a Christian and being, and trying to find that walk and what to do. I want you to share a little bit of your thoughts and how did you, start your journey yourself?
Um, Myself, I mean, I think I had a fairly easy journey. I grew up in the church, and then you grow up in the church, but and you're a little kid. Of course, you say you're a Christian and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it takes time for young men, especially who just grew up in the church,
Mm-hmm.
to truly accept that they're forgiven, or that they themselves are Christian, because it is sort of a weird thing of like I grew up in this,
Yes.
uh, but I don't know if there is a set time I could give you where I say, this is where I truly started believing,
Mm-hmm.
and but there are definite times where I've had self doubt, depression,
Yes.
and uh, what really got me out of it was I just had to stop looking inward so much and concentrating on myself,
Mm-hmm.
and just start living a life where I wanted to care more about other people, not in a selfish way like I used to, where I
Mm-hmm.
would do things because I thought that would make me feel better about all these terrible things that I thought I'd done,
Right, right. Like a
but
trying to redeem yourself in some
yeah,
way. Uh-huh.
but realizing that I was already forgiven,
Yes.
and I want to go out and help people. I'm not going to let, this be a selfish thing that I then guilt myself later because I think I'm just feeling this way. I'm just going to go out and do these small things to help people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to follow what interests me,
Mm-hmm.
because I deeply believe that we are the furtherance of God's creation.
Yes.
God is this great creator. He creates the whole world. Then he makes us built in his image.
Mm-hmm.
We're his children. What do children do? They go and create. We're
Yes.
bringing him glory. And that's why I do the podcast. That's why do documentaries. That's why I concentrate on things that interest me. And I had to start pursuing those things and giving up on this self doubt of like I can't do it or something, because honestly, like there's all sorts of things, ideas like the muse coming to you or
Mm-hmm.
something. There's this idea, every single creative person from Albert Einstein to Nikola Tesla to Rick Rubin, the producer,
Yes.
all these people, songwriters, they tell you they didn't come up with these things, they
Mm-hmm.
came to them, you
Yes.
know
Yep.
and
It's very spiritual. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know there's people who say, well, not all these people were maybe Christian or something, but there's also the religious idea of God's going to use you whether you want to or not.
I know that's right. That's
And I
right.
think you
That's
need,
right.
and I think that's the thing, is we think of all these things as something we have to do,
Mm-hmm.
but we get called to do something,
Yes.
and it's your job whether or not you're going to act on it.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
it's not a I don't believe in predestination or anything like that, but I think there are ideas that God puts out into the world,
Yeah.
and if you receive one of those,
You're supposed to act
you're
on it.
supposed to act on it. You're
Yeah.
supposed to notice those things, and you've talked about sort of the demonic ideas of I'm not good enough.
Yes.
I won't be able to do that, and I
Yes.
still struggle with those things, and
But
you
I
could,
think it's very important because the fact that you do it anyway, and just like you said, we are all on assignment. We all have something, and God gives us all different gifts. And I want to go back for a second and just shine a little bit of light on the one thing that you said about having people around you, the reason why you do the things that you do. One of the things that my now pastor, Dr. Deborah Hope, she said one Sunday, and I think about it now every time before I do something. She said, "Why are you doing it? What is the reason that you're doing when you're responding to something, when someone asks you to do something, when you're just plotting yourself to do something? What is the reason behind it? Is it genuine? Is it something that you actually want to do? Or, is it something else? Are you figuring "Now, if I do this for them, then they'll do this for that for
Mm.
me"? Is it some manipulative, manipulation, which again is demonic? Right? It has this layer where if you're doing something because you want it, it's not genuine coming from you. It's not genuinely because no, I really want to help. Like you said, now I'm doing things because I really want to do it. I'm doing things from this other lens. Or maybe God look at me like it's this tab almost that you feel like God is keeping. Well, if I do this, then maybe God will do this for me. Or if I do this, that makes a significant difference. What you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's also the tab of maybe God won't be upset with me if I do
Right,
this thing
right,
that's good.
right.
But also I think that's the thing is the church likes to present itself as like perfect
There
people,
it is.
you know,
There it is.
and
Yes.
we were talking earlier about uh, young men.
Yes.
How right now you've got more people coming back to religion
Yes.
than ever before, specifically people in my generation,
Yes.
and that's the thing is when religion becomes an ideology,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the other thing is this wanting to return to spiritual, I guess religious beliefs or
Yeah.
whatever can just as easily go into ideology. It doesn't have to be the church or
Right.
Buddhism or whatever religion. It can just be any ideology. When you have that uh, in the church, I'm trying to think how to word this best, but it's not embodied.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking earlier. A lot of people in my generation. I'm one of the lucky few of my friends who
Mm-hmm.
had their dad, in their life
Yeah.
in the same household,
Sure.
you know, and there are political beliefs that want to say that that's not a problem because otherwise that's guilting single mothers, and I mean of course we don't want to do that. There's the other side that almost blames these young men because that's the reason that
Mm-hmm.
crime's higher and stuff is because there's no fathers. But what a father does is he embodies a belief. An
Mm-hmm.
ideology can tell you about what it thinks, what these perfect laid out ideas
Yeah.
of what sexuality, marriage,
Right.
how you should live your life, different
Mm-hmm.
things. It can tell you those things, but they're not embodied,
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest reasons young men are returning to religion is they want uh, something that requires something of them.
Yes.
They want,
Something more. Mm-hmm.
but the problem is if that something more is just an ideology
Right.
and it's not embodied in the men
That the men that they see.
that they
Yes.
see,
Yes.
then what is the difference of that between like,
A
well,
gang member.
now my
Mm-hmm.
religion is politics,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And I think there's also this idea of like, well, we need to have these men's groups so we can preach to the young men, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And a lot of these kids, like, even if you don't necessarily grow up in church. You just absorb a lot of religious teaching just from the culture we're
Right.
in. These young men already know a lot of these things that people are telling them. They know,
Right from wrong and
yeah,
all of the things.
all
Yeah.
these things,
Yeah.
but they're not seeing it embodied.
Right.
And
People are
yeah,
talking about it, but they're not living it. They're
yeah,
not living it, which is what makes a tremendous difference in the church. And you're right. You need to see people walking the walk and not
mhm,
just talking it. And especially men,
yeah.
especially the men.
And like I was saying, there's almost a lot of blame
Hmm.
put on young people because of political ideologies one way or another. You'll see on one news station about the young men and the alt right, or on another the young men who are part of the Marxist, socialist, whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these are people who are searching.
Hmm.
It's the reason you look back to the 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
You see this area of the hippies and free love and drugs and rock and
Yes.
roll, and
Yes.
and I love all those things, don't get me wrong, but 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 then after that you see the Jesus movement,
Yes.
and at the end of the day all these things fall short.
Hmm.
So are we going to be there to show that this doesn't fall short,
Right.
or are we going to decide that that's too hard? I'm going to have my own political ideology or religious ideology
Hmm.
and spout that at them, and not embody that, not be there in these young men's lives.
Yeah. This is a thing too of what you're saying is so significant because again, if you don't have, like you said, that father figure in your life, if you go to church and then you see that, wait a minute, these men aren't doing anything different than the men that at my uncle or people at the house or people that I've seen or whoever it is, right?
Yeah.
Or what I'm used to seeing, that you're craving something different, you're looking for something different, and so how are you showing up? How is the body of Christ? How are the men, right, in the body of Christ showing up? And it is easy for this impressionable group of people to be manipulated.
Hmm.
And we see that right now, the way that this administration is using religion. It is for in a season where people are desperate, to find that love that Christ gives, to find that spiritual connection that you get when you have a relationship with Christ. And so for someone that's
Well, too.
easily manipulated.
I don't want it even to be just about what administration it is, because
Yeah,
everyone has done that throughout
that's very
time,
true. You
and
can switch it either way. You're
yeah,
right. You're right. You can, depending on who you're
and
talking to.
even just myself as a Christian in the last couple of years, I kind of looked at myself and I saw, for one, a lot of my depression was based upon me listening to the radio and the news and
Mm-hmm.
getting so upset over that,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing it doesn't matter who's in charge. What matters is what I'm doing in my everyday life. You were talking about living things out. We tend to think of like these great religious figures,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be Mother Teresa, one of the other saints, or somebody who had this great outreach to people, somebody who started food banks. We always see these huge things, but it's not even that, you know,
Yeah.
like just having a father around.
Yeah.
If I tell him this, he doesn't know what I'm talking about, but
Sure.
you
It's okay.
yeah, I
It's
know.
okay.
I get
I
so
know it's
emotional when I
emotional.
talk.
Yeah.
Uh, you see that lived out. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that he was some great saint who went out and he clothed the needy and gave food to the hungry
Yeah.
or something. It was the everyday things,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we want to put all this value
Mm-hmm.
on huge hacks, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the American showmanship, you know?
Yeah.
We like to think of those people as greater.
Yes.
But are they in God's eyes?
Right.
You know?
Right. Oh, Isaac, I know, I do. I think about when people listen to my podcast, sometimes I feel like, you might hear me complaining, or I wouldn't call it complaining, but just kind of sharing my journey,
Yeah.
and some things that I learned. And our fathers are not perfect, right? But, like you said, the showing up and the being there. I know I would not be the woman that I am today if my father that birthed me, Larry Allen, was not in my life. You hear me talk about my stepfather a lot because he's passed away, and so I try to honor his memory.
Mhm.
But and my father that is still here, and my father that is living, I say I had two amazing fathers. I was blessed, but you're right. It is, if my father did not send for us every summer, I wouldn't be here today because I would have got caught up in that city life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you're right. We got to wrap up. So I want you to go ahead and give me your last thought, Isaac, because what you're sharing today, of course, family, we're going to continue this conversation on the podcast.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Isaac.
I guess to wrap up, you don't also have to be a father by blood. You know,
Yes. Yes.
just and you don't have to even assume the role of a father figure. Just be in the life of somebody.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Whether it is a mentor, whether it is that man at church, right? Showing up and being what another young man needs is priceless.
Mhm.
It is priceless. And so, family, we're going to continue this conversation. I told Isaac we only have 30 minutes on the radio show, but the podcast will have a little more time. It is Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. We are celebrating our men. It is the men's edition this month, y'all. So y'all join us next week, and we're gonna do what we do.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Divine intervention. Thank you for tuning in to Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free with your girl, Miss Michelle D.I. Every week, we will have the uncomfortable but necessary conversations as it relates to your mind, your body, your spirit, and emotions. You've suffered long enough. It's time to break free. So join me every Monday at 1 p.m. right here on KGLD Radio, where you can fill your spirit with gospel all day long. See you next week.